Welcome back to TYT Sports, everybody. Anthony Davis has been shut down by the Pelicans for the season and could actually miss out on upwards of $24 million as part of his contract, but that's not the substance of this story. This story is more in regards to who's going to replace the Team USA starting center in the Rio de Janeiro Olympics in 2016. So before we get to that, Anthony Davis was talking about his torn left labrum, which is a shoulder injury, and a more scary undisclosed knee injury that the Pelicans have released very minimal details about. Shoulder, Pelicans fans, not too much to worry about. Knee, something to keep your eye on. But Anthony Davis was describing what it's like playing with that injury. He had these words to say of recent. It comes and goes. You wake up, and just because it's raining, it's going to start hurting. It's just any situation, it can start hurting, especially when you get hit on it or it gets pulled back a certain way. It starts hurting. It can just pop up at any time, just randomly, he continued to say. Not because you did something to it, but because it's there. There's a day when I wake up and I feel fine, and then a week later, it's kind of stiff. Interestingly, Anthony Davis, and not just Anthony Davis, but he should have the injury-prone label. And Jeff Stotts from RotoWire actually had more in regards to how many injuries this guy has suffered since the start of his career. Davis's proclivity for injury is hard to ignore. Since entering the league in 2012-2013, Davis has averaged 9.5 injuries or medical incidences per year. His list of injuries include a left MCL sprain, a stress reaction in his left ankle, a fractured fifth metacarpal, multiple shoulder sprains, and 2 concussions. Now, to the list of NBA centers that are going to be competing for the spot.
Only one.
There's 3 in there, and 2 are they're only going to need 2. And Deadspin basically was saying these are the 3 to 4 that are available. In January, USA Basketball announced the 30 finalists for roster spots in Rio. Besides Davis, there are 4 other centers listed: DeMarcus Cousins, Andre Drummond, Dwight Howard, and DeAndre Jordan. Both Cousins and Drummond were on the 2014 FIBA Basketball World Cup team, but played the 4th fewest and fewest minutes respectively, thanks to Kevin Draper from Deadspin. Francis, if you're Team USA, you lost your most versatile center, your most versatile 5, and actually, when it comes to the USA's depth, while it seems like they're deep at center, the world is deep at big men. Yes. So losing Anthony Davis is actually a big blow to Team USA, which just means the point differential in the games will be about 20 instead of 40. If you're Team USA, you have those choice. You got to pick 2. Who are you bringing onto your team?
Andrew Drummond and DeMarcus Cousins, undoubtedly.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah, I'm taking DeMarcus Cousins as my starter, right, straight away. I feel like his numbers are undeniable this year. Despite his being prone to aggression at times and that spark that comes with his game, I think that he is someone who will seamlessly fit into that team. And that's the point you just made there, Jason, right? Yes, out of all the injuries, like if you lose a point guard, you have like 7 world-class point guards who's next. Right. Same with the 2, 3, or even the 4. And to look at your center going down, it's not just a center. Like Anthony Davis redefines what I imagine a center would be in, and he's such a great jump shot. For me, one of the hottest prospects for the NBA in the future to come. So I think that he's making the right decision for his career, right? Because he needs to prolong. He's already shown that he is
needs to
somewhat.
Just needs to stay on the court.
Yeah, he needs to stay on
at all costs. At all costs.
And he's got such a huge future ahead of him. So he is going to compete in more Olympics in the future. This isn't the last one he's going to miss out on. But in terms of a replacement, it's not much of a question for me. I think that DeMarcus Cousins will come in as a starter, because I think that he's able to fit in with those talented players around him. You don't really need to have any specific quality to play with the other 4 players that you're going to go around with. Like, I honestly think you could go in and they would still win games by 10 or 11 points.
One thing about DeMarcus Cousins, at least, is that people were worried in general about his temper.
Yeah.
And look, I've been through this 1.5 million times. Yes, when he came into the league, very immature, lots of technical fouls. Then they kind of got into a winning mentality, and that all went to the wayside, and we realized how dominant DeMarcus Cousins can be. Hands down the best big man in the league when he's on the court, not fouling out of games. And then we go and see the most recent Kings situation. Do you know what fixes temper problems in the NBA? Winning. You don't see this, like the Golden State Warriors, the San Antonio Spurs, even the Clippers and the Thunder having major unrest with specific players.
Yeah.
When you're winning 45, 50, 55, 60 games a year, or in the Spurs and Warriors case, close to 70 freaking games a year. But if DeMarcus Cousins does get selected, again, he's played on the... Here's the reason why it's Drummond and DeMarcus Cousins in the first place. They played on the 2014 team.
Yeah.
And almost always, if you are still in your youth and you are still more than capable of playing international basketball, which is a different style of game entirely, even though we still dominate it, then you're going to play for that team. I would love to see DeAndre Jordan on the team for defensive purposes because he can be such a great defender, but he's got no touch around the rim. And that's going to pose a major problem for Coach K when it comes to drawing up the plays.
If you start Chris Paul, then maybe you go with DeAndre Jordan.
But Chris Paul's not. It's going to be Westbrook and Curry.
It's going to be Westbrook and Curry. But, I mean, that is a factor. I made it kind of as a joke, but it is realistic that if you go with someone like Chris Paul, then DeAndre Jordan, for me, is going to thrive more. Those two are two peas in a pod when they work well together. But
they will, but you also have to keep in mind that it's not Doc Rivers' game plan. It's not Chris Paul's game plan. It's Coach K's and Colangelo's. Actually, it's not really too much in the playmaking side of things, but still, it's the international game is different entirely, and it looks more like the '90s of the NBA. The big men dominate, and look, Drummond and DeMarcus Cousins can score, and that's what they want.
It is a crucial point that most kind of aggressors you see in the NBA come from a team in which they are facing adversity and they don't thrive as well. Like Draymond Green channels very similar emotions, I think, to DeMarcus Cousins, but he channels them in a positive way because he uses it to motivate himself and his other teammates when they're winning. So you see him fit into a team which are going to dominate. When you have someone like Steph playing alongside you and draining threes, and you have other players who are able to utilize your abilities better than what you experience in your everyday NBA team, I don't think his aggression will be a problem. That being said, don't be surprised. I'll say this, and he'll go in and he'll just clean someone out.
Yeah, and as to why Dwight...
Because you don't like him, Jason.
People know my biases towards Dwight Howard, against Dwight Howard at least, but same major problem with Dwight as Anthony Davis is the injuries.
Yeah.
You can't bring somebody who's not, as you would put it, fully fit into international play. They have more important things to worry about in terms of just getting back on the court. That's Anthony Davis's number one goal. He hasn't played more than 68 games in a season. He needs to do that if the Pelicans are going to look to actually build for the next few years to come. Until then, comment below with who you think should replace Anthony Davis as the starting center. I would say DeMarcus Cousins. I think you would also, although Drummond would be a really interesting fit. And, of course, if you're on the DeAndre Jordan side of things, defensively, you can't go wrong. I can't believe we're not that deep at center, but we're still pretty deep at center.
And deep enough everywhere else to probably take a position away and still win with 4.
Yeah, we can play 4-on-5. Maybe not against Spain or France. At TYT Sports on Twitter, and at Francis_Maxwell at Jason Ruben 91. We'll see you next time.